Imagine if you could take one of the wealth building tricks that billionaires use to grow richer, but instead of using it to exploit people and planet, you used it to build a more joyful and financially resilient life for yourself, while also helping bring about the change you want to see in the world. Sounds impossible, right? But here's the thing. Billionaires already know something most people don't. When they spend money, they rarely just spend it. They place it into assets that hold their value, grow over time, or generate more income. Every dollar is a seed, and they make sure they plant it in fertile ground. They track all of this on something called a balance sheet, a document that lists your assets, what you own, and your liabilities, what you owe. It's basically a snapshot of your financial world. But here's the catch. Traditional balance sheets only measure things in dollars. They completely ignore the wealth that can't be counted in cash, but is critical to your happiness, security, and survival. That's why I want to introduce you to something far more powerful, the holistic balance sheet. It works like a regular balance sheet, but includes all forms of wealth, not just financial capital. It's a tool for measuring what truly matters and for making choices that help you thrive in our late-stage capitalist, climate-challenged world. This is one of the core tools I teach in my Personal Economy Makeover course. And if you want to design your own, I've included a link for that course in the description, and you can check it out later. So here are the 5 key features that make a holistic balance sheet so powerful. Number 1, it keeps the value on your own balance sheet. In our current economy, most of the money you spend vanishes into the coffers of giant corporations and billionaires, strengthening their balance sheet, not yours. Over time, your resources shrink and theirs expand. A holistic balance sheet flips that script. The goal is to convert as many of your expenditures as possible into assets that stay with you, your household, and your community. And it's an added bonus when they grow your wealth as well. One example of this is the $120 my beekeeper boyfriend spent on a wax press. Instead of merely disappearing into some distant business's bottom line, that money transformed into a physical tool that quickly earned back more than it cost through honey sales to members of his community that appreciate his treatment-free honey. Years later, it's still producing value for him and his customers. Number 2, it prioritizes financial expenditures that promote regenerative practices. When you do spend money, you direct it towards assets that not only benefit you, but also strengthen your community and regenerate the natural systems we depend on. Rooftop solar panels are one example of this. They cut your energy bills, raise your home's value, reduce your reliance on fossil fuels, and in some places even earn money by selling excess power back to the grid. That's a purchase that enriches you while healing the planet. Even small tools can be regenerative assets. My $20 trash grabbing stick has saved me thousands of dollars in groceries thanks to easier dumpster diving. It's generated income from selling rescued goods, helped me gift fresh produce to neighbors, grown my social capital, and reduced landfill waste. Number 3, it includes non-monetary forms of capital. Money isn't the only or even the most important wealth you can hold. A holistic balance sheet tracks non-monetary forms of capital, such as living capital. That's things like a community garden, seeds, bees, or a national park. Social capital. Think strong community ties, trust-based relationships, and skill-sharing networks. Intellectual capital. That's the knowledge you learn at school, from reading books, or your creativity. Cultural capital. Those traditions, arts, and shared stories that create belonging. Experiential capital, which consists of the skills we learn through experience and doing, like food preservation, carpentry, and riding a bike. Health capital. Health is wealth, right? As healthcare costs skyrocket, I know my healthy habits like eating garden fresh produce, exercising, and sleeping well are saving me a lot of money now, and that will likely continue to be the case into the future because of all this work I'm doing to lay a solid foundation as I age. And of course, these non-monetary forms of capital can also sometimes be converted into financial capital. For example, when I foraged these passion fruit, Albert propagated new plants from the seeds. Those plants became ongoing sources of food, income, and beauty. No cash required. That's living capital in action that eventually increased our financial capital as well when Albert sold each of those passion fruit plants from $15 to $25. Number 4, it exposes capitalism's false myth of scarcity. Capitalism thrives on the false illusion of scarcity, keeping us anxious, overworked, and convinced we must stay on the hamster wheel forever. But when you track all forms of wealth, you start to see the overflowing abundance all around you. Dumpster diving, foraging, gardening, buy nothing groups, swap meets, and tool libraries have shown me how much productive energy and generosity already exist in our communities and ecosystems. It's like living in a mansion full of hidden treasure rooms, but capitalism has convinced us we're trapped in a broom closet. When you broaden your definition of wealth, you start to make choices from a place of enoughness, not fear. You stop chasing only financial returns and start building a portfolio that supports your joy, resilience, and values. And now, a brief message from future me in editing mode. I'm not suggesting that systemic issues, greed, and distribution challenges don't exist. But the capitalist engine functions a lot more effectively when we the people feel trapped in that fear of there not being enough for everyone, which simply is not the case. Now, back to that regularly scheduled programming. And that brings me to number 5. It measures what makes your life joyful, meaningful, and resilient. Finally, a holistic balance sheet isn't just about assets and numbers, it's about thriving. My holistic balance sheet also accounts for whether an asset brings me joy or otherwise improves my quality of life, whether it harms or heals the planet, moves my life in the direction I want to be going, or steers me away from that. And if it makes my life more resilient in the face of our looming political, economic, and climate uncertainties. By giving these assets a place on your ledger, you remind yourself that your real wealth is in the skills, contributions, and experiences that can't be devalued by inflation or stolen in a stock market crash. Now, I'm not very accounting or spreadsheet savvy, so this holistic balance sheet is just a sample template I've dabbled with to convey the idea a little more clearly. Mostly I make these holistic balance sheet calculations in my head and in my heart. The point is to reframe wealth so that every decision you make strengthens your life, your community, and the planet. Because the truth is, chasing only money has left too many people burned out, anxious, and disconnected, while destroying the ecosystems we depend on. But when you include all forms of wealth in your accounting, you create a life that's rich now, not just in some distant retirement. And please know there's a lot more we can do to flip that script on those conventional capitalist wealth building concepts. So watch this video next to learn even more ways to grow your regenerative wealth portfolio that's good for you, your community, and Mother Earth.